What is going on, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a brand new video. In today's video we'll be talking about getting started, buying and selling cars, what to look for, what cars to go for and why you should you get category N cars. I certainly do like getting category N cars and I will explain why in this video. So if you're not subscribed, don't forget to like, subscribe and share before you even get started, because I can guarantee you are going to like this video. Now the reason I'm actually making this video is because a few months ago I kind of lost motivation buying and selling cars, but the car gods did not want to leave me alone. As you know or may not know, I got a part-time job at Tesco's, and doing that was probably the best thing I could have done in my life, because a few days later, after doing a few runs by myself, I came across this Pt1, which was an absolute beauty. Sat there for 16 years. The person had owned it from new, sat on his drive for 16 years and no one bought it. It was like it was waiting for me to turn up, because when I went there, I commented on how nice that car was. And the first thing he said is, do you want to buy it? And we struck a deal. Of course, I wanted to buy it. We struck a deal, contacted James at Chop's Garage and ended up doing a deal with him. Drove there, met him. What a legend. True motivation like guy that is. If you're into buying and selling cars, I suggest you go check him out if you're not already subscribed to his channel. Really good content. He started off with a few cars and look at where he is today. So he's a great person to just watch his content and see for yourself that, you know, it can be done. Long story short, I ended up coming back, made a little bit of profit on the car, and using that profit I went and bought an Audi TT. As you can see, was a lot more damage than a category N as it was listed. I was a bit annoyed about that. I put it back through auction and unfortunately I didn't make all my money back. I won that car for £1,200 and the vehicle actually sold for £800, which put me in the minus of £400. Now it's actually motivated me, because I kind of felt a bit annoyed that I got such a good car, I sold it and made a little bit of profit, and I pretty much wasted £400 for no reason at all. But I think it's just the car god saying, don't give up. He's a nice car. If I wasn't into buying and selling cars, I wouldn't have bought that Pt1. And if I didn't buy this Audi TT and it had more damage, I'd be doing some kind of rebuild on it and not flipping cars. But because obviously I bought it and it had a little bit more damage, I put it back through auction, and now I'm down £400, which has given me motivation to buy something and sort of make that loss back. So in today's video we'll be talking about exactly what I bought and why I bought it and what to look for and how much I think I'm going to make on this. So let's have a look at what I just bought. Right, starting off with the front of the vehicle, as you can see, absolutely stunning. This is a category N. Before we get started into looking at this vehicle, I want to point out it is a category N. The reason why I do like category N vehicles is because they put through auction due to the fact that they got some kind of collision problem, and not put through the auction because they got some kind of mechanical problem. Now, category N, as you can see so far, looks in really good condition. That boot does look like a slightly different shade. However, I can assure you that it's just because of the lighting. It is actually a correct match in the sun. The bumpers don't always match, because one, bumpers are plastic, two, the body's metal. But things I want to point out when buying these cars, and a great choice of car to start flipping, is because these are chain driven, so very reliable. Secondly, they cost very cheap, if not zero, for the year to tax. Now the reason I'm talking about the tax is because some people don't have space to keep them on the drive, so you have to park them on the road, and I do recommend that you tax them if you're going to be keeping on the road. And you know, if you're paying for this in direct debit, it's only going to work out to be a £1.70, no more than £2 tax for the month. Really good car to get started with. As I mentioned, category N. So far I've done a nice little walk around and you can see no damage at all on the car. But there is damage to this vehicle, which we'll get round to having a quick look at that. But first of all, while we're at the front of the car, I want to point out rule number one. Before starting off on any car, make sure you check the oil, because these are very common to have low oil for some reason. I have bought a number of these vehicles and they have always been low on oil. So rule number one, take some oil with you. If you get in the train, a nice litre would get you started off. Maybe you could drive to your local Euro car parks after that, but keep a litre oil with you to match the actual car would be a good thing. So just stick the registration in Euro car parts, get a litre oil, if not 2 litres, depending on how far you've got to travel. If you go in on a car, just get 4 litres, works out to be a lot cheaper, and that way there you can use the same oil on another vehicle when you get the next one. But rule number 1, check the oil and obviously take some oil with you. Rule number 2 is make sure you get a battery. You can get a second-hand one from places like ASM or Silver Lake. Wherever you buy the cars from, they tend to have used batteries that you can pick up for around 20 quid. Take one with you. The reason I recommend you do that is because sometimes you buy these cars, they don't hold charge, and I've had it done before when I end up going to petrol station, turning the car off, filling it up, and the car doesn't get started again, and it's very embarrassing having to push it, or even worse, stalling the car at a set of traffic lights. So yeah, I do recommend just checking the battery once you plug it, start it up, leave it running for a bit, turn the key off, and then obviously make sure that the car starts up again, and that way that you know the battery is holding charge. So rule number 1 is keep oil, rule number 2 is the battery, and rule number 3 is take you know, one of them lighter pumps, you know, the inflated, you plug it into the cigarette lighter and you pump your tires. Sometimes when you get cars, they're pretty low on air, and the last thing you want to be doing is driving with low pressure. It's just cheaper, rather than having to find a petrol station to fill it up. With air, you've literally got your air with you, which you can get for around £20 from Halfords. That is the 3 things I recommend you do: is oil, battery, and air. That's if you're going to pick up the cars yourself, that is, obviously. And obviously when you get the vehicles, oil is important to always check. But yeah, what else I'm going to recommend about getting started on these little cars, and the reason I do think is a good thing, is obviously the tax is very low. So if you've got nowhere to keep the car, obviously I mentioned, make sure you basically paying direct debit, because that way there, when you're paying direct debit for the tax, you can just cancel your direct debit as well as switch the car over, and not having to deal with DVLA and not getting your £20 back. Another thing I want to point out is this vehicle does not come with a logbook. Now, it doesn't come with a logbook. That is not a deal breaker for me, and I will explain why in the next video, because I will show you how to acquire a logbook and what to look for when checking if the car has got a logbook. We'll do a separate video on that, because it's a kind of sticky situation. People think you can just go and tax the car without a logbook, and it's easy to get a logbook. It's not actually the case. I will do a separate video on it when I'm going to apply for the logbook for this one. And the reason why I will do a separate video on it is because it's a very, very good point that you need to take on board. Is probably one of the most important things to take note of, is because if you don't have a logbook with the car, it could take up to about 6 weeks for that logbook to come, and without a logbook you won't be able to tax the car. Without a logbook you won't even be able to sell the car, and if someone does buy the car without a logbook, you're not going to be able to tax the car, so they're going to be driving the car without tax. And for me, I like to obviously tax my vehicles, make sure they're roadworthy, make sure they're road legal, because this is going to need an MOT, so I'm going to have to drive it to an MOT station. It does have MOT on it now till I think the 1st of September, which means that it's MOT'd. I should legally be taxing the car, and there's no questions or excuses why the car isn't taxed. You don't want to get in trouble for not taxing the vehicle. So in the next video, I will show you what to look for, when the vehicle has not got a logbook. So we'll leave that for a separate video. But let's move on to the damage of this car. As you can see, I've been walking back and forth just so you can get a better idea what this car looks like. And as you can see, headlights, little polish, bonnet polish. The paint itself needs a good polish. We do have this little rust thing here, so we'll take that, sand it down, touch it up with a pen, not go over the top, and then polish that wing once the paint is dried. But yeah, moving over to the damage. Category N cars are not always a bad choice, and like I said, it's in auction because it's sustained some kind of collision damage, not mechanical problems. But this is the damage of the car. Now this is probably the best category N that I've got, because it's going to be the most simplest fix. I've already bought a boot. It's cost me £70, and that's including postage. What I do want to point out here while we're at this point is you can see this damage has not even broken the window on that, the glass. So what I will do, Oh, sorry, man, just something flew on my neck, so I got a little bit scared there. What I will be doing with this is I will keep this boot for next time, keep in my garage. I'll take off the badges when needed. If I ever come across another Nissan Pixel that needs badges, or maybe just to tidy up and make it look a little bit better, I'll put the badges on it. But I will keep it because if ever we buy one that's got damaged rear glass, I'll be using that one. So I've acquired a boot with the glass for £70 including postage. Now, to paint a boot, to paint a panel, pretty much works out to be around 50 to 60 to £70, depending on where you go and who does it for you. I do know a few people in the trade, and to be honest with you, if I was to get one in a different color, get it fitted and painted, I'll probably pay around £70, to be honest. So getting one £70 including delivery and in the right color has worked out in my favor. So really, really happy with that. Overall, the car drives really, really well. I will do a driving thing when we're going for an MOT, but a driving video on it while we're driving to the MOT, and we will point out some things to listen for and what to look for when you're checking on the mechanical side of things. First of all, I'm just showing you exactly what I purchased for £700 including fees. It's now cost me an extra £70 to get the boot, so we're £770 into this car at this point. An MOT is going to cost me £30, which is going to bring the grand total of this vehicle all the way up to £800. Now, that's the money I have lost on the Audi TT, and to be honest with you, I think, you know, I've got a really, really good buy here for £800, and that's including a brand new MOT on it for the year. So we've sort of you know, kind of done well on this one, I think. The mileage of this car, actually, let's get in the car, we'll show you what to look for when we get into the car. Right, things to look for when obviously buying a vehicle. How do you know the car is safe, and how do you know that you've got a good buy? First of all, you want to turn the key on. Make sure you've checked your oil, obviously. Make sure you topped it up if needed. But you want to look at your lights. All the lights are there, as you can see. Oil, engine light, another bunch of fault lights. Let's turn it off again. You got the coolant light there. They don't have, obviously, temperature, so coolant light will come off if needed. You got steering file, check engine, battery, oil. All them good things that you want to make sure are showing up when, you know, you turn the key on. When you start them, you obviously want to make sure that all the lights go off, and obviously this one does. It's indicating that the seat belt's not on. Obviously I'm sitting in the seat. It's indicating that the handbrake is on. Obviously the handbrake's up, as you can see, and obviously the door's open. So if you was to do that, shut that, handbrake down, and obviously, wait a minute, seal belt on. Now all lights are out. So as you can see, so far so good. Little rev. Sounds really, really good. But what we'll do is I'll pop the bonnet, and then we can have a hear off the engine. We can listen to what that's sounding like, and see if there's anything to point out. So let's get out. Right, pop the bonnet, and as you can see, so far everything looks really, really nice under here. As you can see, like I mentioned, it's not a big battery, so you can always carry one. If you get a train in one of them Morrison's bag, you know, they hold really well. Or even a backpack, actually, just make sure you put it in the carrier bag. But they're not very big and they're not very heavy, so you can carry one if needed. But overall, as you can see, the engine looks really, really good. I mean, it does need a good clean, but there's no obvious signs of leaks or anything like that. Obviously, that oil there, that's natural. When you're topping up the oil, it is going to spill, and to be honest, I kind of spilled the oil and wiped it. But overall, as you can see and hear, most importantly, is what it sounds like. Listen to how quiet that engine is. Very, very quiet engine. So this one does seem like it's a very, very good engine, and nothing really to worry about. So right, as you can see, we are starting off with a really, really good starting car here. As you know, my budget is only £800. I'm not starting with anything more, anything less. £800 is the total of this vehicle currently. £700 for the car, including all fees, if not a little bit less. We also got the boot, which was £70 in silver, so we don't need to pay for painting. And then we got £30 for an MOT. I do think this car is going to go through MOT with no questions. All the lights work, indicators work. I will be pointing out things to check before we go for the MOT in the next video. But in today's video, obviously, I wanted to show you what kind of things to look for and what cars to get started with. But I do think that there's no excuse that anyone can get started flipping cars if you just know what you're doing. I hope the content I bring you people going forward is going to be of use to you. If you're not subscribed, I suggest you do that right now, because in the next video we'll be talking about MOT, getting this car prepped for MOT, getting this car prepped for sale, as well as fitting that rear boot. And I'll show you exactly how hard it is to fit a boot. So if you're not subscribed, don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and I will see you people in the next video. Ta-da.